A Brief Moment in Time by Leonard S. Corey. In the chapters to follow, I hope to get into some of the interesting things that have happened to me over my lifespan. It is my desire that someone in the family will find it interesting, at least some of it. And if someone in the family following me decides to write a family history, there is a little something of interest for them to use. I guess that I gave my parents a few problems from time to time. It seems that I liked automobiles, even as a small child. When I was about 2 years old, I climbed into my father's 1925 Overland and began to fool with the steering wheel and shifting lever. I got the car out of gear and rolled backwards out of the driveway, across Main Street, and over into the Methodist church yard across the street. Of course, traffic was not too heavy in those days, and it was a good thing because no car came along and hit me broadside as I drifted across the street. Try it today, you would never make it. It is interesting to note that I was born shortly before the Depression years, and that I was a boy during those Depression years. I would get a lecture on saving money, using money wisely, and any other facet involving money that you could imagine, morning, noon, and night. It got so bad that it affected my studies. I could not study at home, as my mother would come to me as I was studying and give me these lectures on being a spendthrift and anything else that came into her mind, and in frustration, I would thumb a ride down to Manchester Road and see Lois. I can remember putting my head on her shoulder and crying like a baby because of the complete frustration and not knowing how to cope with it. I don't know why Lois put up with it, but I am sure glad she did. During my senior year of high school, I had the leading male part. Lois was a maid and had one line to say in the play. The first night of the play, when she came on stage, she got stage struck and forgot her one line completely. I remember that I would never have my algebra done, so I would copy Lois's homework and turn it in. When it came time to take the Regents exam, I passed with a good grade, and Lois flunked the exam. She never forgave me for that. You're in the army now, you're not behind the plow, and so it goes. I was lucky in going to college at the Army's expense, and also between each semester, I got a week off so I could come home for a few days. It was rough on the pocketbook, and I used to have to call home for money for the train fare so I could come home. At Christmas time in 1943, I came home on leave and had the flu when I got to Rochester. I wanted to give Lois her diamond, but had no money with which to do so. I borrowed the money from my parents, and we went up to Shears on Main Street in Rochester to buy their diamond. I recall that I was so dizzy with the flu that I had to hang on the counter to keep from falling down. I made it. We got her diamond that night. I guessed on the size, and it fit. At least, she's never given it back to me. We were married in the First Presbyterian Church by Lee Hill. The ceremony was no more than over when a thunder and lightning storm hit Victor. During the storm, the church was hit by lightning just as we were receiving guests in the vestibule of the church. Boy, did that ever empty the church in a hurry. I guess everyone believed the church had probably caught on fire and they were going to get out. I am pleased to say that there was no fire, but at the same time, there was no one left in the church either. After we were married, we lived with my parents for a few weeks until the apartment down at the other house was ready for us to occupy. While we were still at my parents', the gang decided one Friday night to give us a horning. For those of you who do not know what a horning is, let me explain. At the time we were married, it was custom to horn a newly married couple by calling on them late at night and get them out of bed. Hopefully you were able to catch them making love. The couple that were being horned had to feed this group of uninvited guests. And if you did not have any food in the house, you went to some all-night restaurant and paid the bill. Of course, you never knew when this horning was going to occur, so you were kept off balance until the time came. On this particular Friday night, about 20 people came to the house and woke us all up. Lois and Mother fed this motley crew of half-sober people, and while we were trying to entertain them, Tom Meade stole all of Lois's clothes, stuffed them in a couple pillowcases, and took them to the post office. During the summer that I worked on the railroad, Kathy was born. Kathy had colic very bad when she was a baby. I think we wore a groove in the floor, walking her, trying to relieve the discomfort. It took about 6 months for her to get over the problem. It took her parents a year. Kathy was one that had no fear of anything. One Saturday afternoon, I was repairing the roof over the kitchen on the west side of the house. I had the ladder up against the side of the house and was on the roof with a bucket of tar plugging leaks. I looked around and here comes Kathy up the ladder, just getting off the ladder with a cookie for me. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid to move as a false start on my part could have caused Kathy to raise up and possibly fall backwards onto the cement below. I called for her mother to come quickly and stand below the ladder, which she did. Then I went to Kathy, picked her up, and put her back in the house through an open bedroom window. After that, I ate my cookie. This was typical of the stunts that gracious mother of 2 lovely granddaughters used to pull. We can see where her daughters get some of their spirit from. When I returned to Victor from Nashville in June of 1954, Lois was pregnant for Sue, who was born in November 19 that year. While living down at the corner on Church Street, Bruce was born. He was born November 2nd, 1955. With Bruce now with us, Lois was busy. Kathy was 7, Sue less than a year old, and now Bruce. And I had my boy. When we finally got on our feet financially, we bought our first travel trailer. Our big trip with that trailer was to New England and the Canadian Maritime Provinces. There was Kathy, Sue, and Bruce on that trip with us. When we got over to the coast and began to smell the ocean with its associated smells, Lois found that she could not tolerate smells without getting sick to her stomach. Yep, you guessed it. She was pregnant for Debbie. Debbie joined the family while we were on Church Street on March 9th, 1963. She rounded out our family. By this time, the other children had grown enough so they could pretty much take care of themselves. Kathy was a big help to her mother. She was 15 when Debbie was born, and her mother certainly needed the help. By the time Debbie was 3 months old, she was a seasoned traveler in the trailer, and good as gold. Today, she can't stand to travel, unless she does the driving. Summer came, and we were planning on taking a month to go to the Rockies, and also to stop by Windsor, Colorado, where Kodak was proposing to build a new plant. We took the trip, but Kathy stayed home. She had a summer job making some money for college. As it turned out, Kathy did not miss a thing. We were gone 27 days, and it rained 19 days of the trip. I sold the trailer and put the money into an in-ground swimming pool, and that turned out to be a very worthwhile venture. The entire family had a lot of fun as a result of that move. I always had the philosophy that anything that was a large expenditure, such as a trailer or a swimming pool, should be something that the entire family could enjoy. One's lifetime only takes a brief moment of time, and this is mine. I believe that I have made a contribution to society in my own way. I have always felt that if a person does not like the way things are going, get involved. May you enjoy this autobiography and see fit to pass it along to your children.